Okay, at this time I'd like to call to order today's meeting of the Charter Review Committee. Would the city clerk please take the roll call?
McAleese.
Here?
Aubrey.
Here.
Edwards.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Minix.
Here.
Richmond. Richmond.
Susan, are you Richmond? Are you on mute? She walked away and put us on mute. Oh, we lost her.
I heard her say hello, and I wish you could hear us.
Okay, I can try and pull it back. Strauss.
Here.
Okay. If you want to start, we'll see if she calls back. Maybe.
So this is a quorum, we're good?
Yeah, well, you have a quorum.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, all right, we're gonna keep going because we're still recording, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I would say keep going.
So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 13th, 2026 Charter Review Committee. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes. We're good. Okay, at our last meeting, by the way, I love Carly. Everything is literally written out here. This is awesome. At our last meeting, the committee reviewed the city charter and identified specific sections to evaluate more closely. At this time, we will begin to go through that list of all those sections. And the first section, so we have these in numerical order. The first section to be reviewed is 2.02, election and terms.
Larry, I'll mention what you had asked me for something before the meeting. I have that information pulled if you'd like to discuss that.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly.
So 2.02 is the terms. Is there any discussion on this? How do we want to start? Because last time all we did was decide what we were going to talk about, not what we had concerns about.
So I have just a comment here. I asked Carly earlier if we could see what the last Charter Review Committee had discussed and recommended and what was placed on the ballot and approved. And I know that part of that discussion last time was the election and term.
Okay.
And so I'm also just curious about the fact that it was approved 7 years ago, I guess, or 6 by the time they had the election. Is this something that we need to discuss again? And if so, you know, that's fine, but if not, we could move on. And I'm only throwing that out because there's plenty of other stuff for us to talk about. But if this is something, and you know, Mark, you're the only elected official here that can comment on that. But if that's something that you feel the commissioners are content with, this new change for longer terms and that sort of thing, that's great. Otherwise, I think it's perfectly legitimate for us to go ahead and discuss it.
So the comment that I got is we have a 4-year term now. It used to be a 3-year term. I will be the first one, Larry, you probably know this also. I'll be the first one to admit, coming in as somebody that had no political knowledge or background at all, I don't know how you would get up to speed in 2 or 3 years. And if you go through Carly's spreadsheet, there are cities that just have 2-year terms. A lot of them have 3. We now have a 4-year, and it does take a while to get up to speed. I didn't get any discussion on that. And I didn't get any I didn't have anybody actually say that there was a negative about this, but I would love to talk about this. Both the commissioners and the mayors have 3-term limits. Now that's a long time. That's 12 years. But we honestly have times in this city when nobody runs. Okay, the mayor just got elected unopposed. Okay, so if he didn't run, I don't know what would happen. I don't know if the vice mayor would take over. So I don't know if there's another way to work on that, okay? Whether I did see that a lot of cities do not have term limits, again, in Carly's data, which was fantastic, thank you, by the way.
There's printed copies right there if anybody needs it.
Okay. So talk about whether we would eliminate term limits, make, I think I saw somewhere, I don't think it was in that spreadsheet, but somebody that was working on a charter review that said that the term limits were in place unless nobody ran or they were unopposed, then that person could continue to run. So I'm just interested in what people think about this whole topic.
Well, and also, in talking about term limits, you still have to get reelected. So at the end of your 4-year term, if you run again and you're not reelected, term limits don't matter because you're gone.
True.
But if there's no one running against you and you're unopposed, you're just automatically in for another term. So if there's no one running.
Well, after the third term,
after the
according
third
to
term,
this,
that's
you would not be.
different. Yeah, but
Right, okay.
you can legitimately serve 12 years and never have to go through another election after your first one.
I believe that is
Yeah.
possibility in this city,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Just because we're small, yeah.
So, and I think that waxes and wanes with whatever's going on in the world and the city, and if people are interested in the issues, you're gonna get more people involved and more people running, but if they're content with what's going on and content with how the city's being run, people just go, let's just not kick over the apple cart kind of thing. So, I'm gonna throw this at you, Carly, since you've been around much longer than most of us, and in the city, not in life.
Wow. Good save, I like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
But, so you've seen elections, you've seen them get highly competitive, or no one runs at all, or, in the case of the current mayor, no one ran against him, so he continued to be mayor. If he didn't want to be mayor any longer and he said, I'm done, then I don't know what the situation would be in that case. So maybe you could enlighten us on that.
I think when that type of situation has happened in terms of like commission seats, it has fallen to members on the commission to almost go out into the community and recruit. When we say we've got 2 seats coming up and either somebody's termed out or someone says I'm moving or I'm not going to run again, the commission's kind of aware of that typically as it's coming up, and so it has fallen to the commissioners to basically go out and go, you want to serve, you want to run, and there has been willingness among people, especially in those cases, because they tend to walk in, because if no one's running and qualifying is about to end and you can just come fill out some papers, that people are more willing to do it. But we've definitely had situations where it's gotten close to having nobody, and it's literally been members on the commission just begging their neighbors to come run for office, and the people that wanted to stay can't. So,
But if you don't get anyone, and so there's a seat, does the commission then appoint someone?
they appoint, but they can't appoint for the entire term. So they can appoint for up to a certain amount of time, and then we would have to hold a special election. We usually try again. You appoint somebody to fill it temporarily, and then you try again.
I think that's a good point, but I never,
So-
because I was thinking that, maybe 12 years is a little too long, but
Okay.
given the fact that it is a small community, and may have limited interest and limited number of people that you can go to. It's probably a good point. I think probably in bigger cities, you don't have that issue.
Yeah.
There's many more complex issues.
That's a lot of what we hear, is that term limits are not as common in smaller cities. Now, I was not working here at the time, but years ago when term limits were put in, my understanding is that there were some potential personality conflicts. And so it's easy to pass term limits. It's a little harder to get rid of them. And so term limits were put in place because there was a group of people that were just ready for some people to be gone.
Get rid of the people or get rid of term limits? Well, we don't have to go there.
My understanding is there were some conflicts among some groups within the community, and they were ready for certain people to be off of the commission. The concern was that those people were still relatively popular in the community and would continue to have been elected, And so they pushed term limits so that they could no longer be elected. That's my understanding. Again, my understanding is also that it's very easy to put term limits into place. Communities tend to be pretty open to that. Like, yeah, great, give somebody else a turn. It is harder to communicate a need to get rid of term limits, even if that's what may be right for your community. Like, not having term limits could be better for us. It will likely be a difficult sell. That's not me saying do it or don't. Personally, I would think that no term limits would be really good for this community, but I think it would be a hard sell to the public, personally.
So a generic question to either, if this group comes up with 10 ideas and we go to the commission and they agree to all 10 ideas, do each 10 ideas go up for a vote independently?
Everything is its
So-
own ballot question.
So you can get 8 agree to and 2 decline?
Yeah,
All right,
the
all right,
community
so-
can pass what they like and vote down what they don't.
Okay, all right, that's
So-
helpful, thank you.
Just another quick question. What is the city's budget this year?
That is a complicated question, because there's like operating and capital, and then we have enterprise funds for things like sewer and water. So do you mean, you say
I mean,
operating?
these guys who had the 4-year terms for this period of time, how much money are they
I don't
spending?
know how much they-
Oh, the operating budget is like 17 million?
17 million?
Yeah.
And
Don't
what's-
quote me on that, because we're
What's
working on it
capital,
now.
just
So,
roughly?
with the fire station, that's changed a couple things. I want to say it's like 4. There's a lot of this that's up in the air since the storms. A lot of things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we have
yeah.
stopped certain projects. So there's a lot of this it's a little bit of a moving target. So that I can get our finance department if you'd like a more up to
No,
date.
just generally, I'm just trying to figure out. So if you look at like our condo board, you know, we normally have a budget of 12 million. You know, with the storms, you know, it's kind of 15, 20 million, and it's, you know, we have about 42 million in capital projects. And the state put in term limits, 8 years, you know, for condo boards. And I really think I like the 4-year term because like you said, it takes time to get up to speed.
It really, yeah. thank
Yeah,
you.
so I really like but 12 years is a long time.
Okay,
And so I think with the 4-year term, which is good, I think an 8-year term limit feels like a good time. I mean, I think 12 years, you know, if it's working now, maybe it's not a big issue, but to me, since the state kind of looked at that with condo boards, you know, I think it makes a lot of sense to consider limiting to 2 terms.
so you would want to change it to 2 terms instead of 3?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yep.
My thought is, I just made a comment, if I'm off base at any time, please say, "Oh." I said, aren't we glad to just get people? So I guess the reason, I meant that in a good way, you know, we
Yeah.
always want fresh people, fresh ideas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if we went with no term limits, or we did do term limits, with no term, I don't know, what would attract more people to get involved in regards to no limits, term limits? I mean, are people gonna be, hey, if it was just 2, I could do it, versus, let's say, 4? And I don't even know if that's irrelevant.
Are you saying the length of the term?
Yeah, the length, what in this would attract people to maybe get involved more, if there's anything? Which we all want.
Yeah,
I mean,
personally, I think the longer
absolutely,
term
you know?
tends to be more attractive.
I'm sorry?
Personally, I think the longer term tends to be more attractive.
Really?
Because if I see your point in saying, well, if it's a 2-year term, I'm only committing to 2 years and maybe I don't want to serve 4. But for a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially if you're not walking in and you have to go through the election process, a
Right.
2-year term is not a long time to go out and do the whole putting out signs and waving and fundraising. And I mean, a lot of people don't want to go through
Okay.
the election process
Okay.
to be in office for 2 years.
Okay.
It's because you would have to go through that it's like a 3-4 month process
Right.
just to be elected.
Okay.
So I personally, that would be what I would think. But
80% of these cities here have no term limits, Yeah, I wonder what they why do they do it and we don't? Is there something that is more attractive? And I guess not.
I think it's more that a long time ago, most places didn't have term limits, and so it's just, there
Oh,
have been a few that have
continuation.
added them, rather than people getting rid of
Okay.
them. And I think a lot of these cities have just said, we don't need them, so why add them?
Oh,
But South Pasadena, 30-something years, almost 40 years ago, added them.
wow, okay. I'm good. Thank you very much.
I guess I would tend to lean toward leaving the term limits in the same, and then going back to the scenario Carly described that we had apparently several years ago, that if you don't like who's in there, or there's a personality conflict or anything, you know, it's like, okay, get somebody that you want to be in there and encourage them to participate. It's like every election that I've ever participated in, you know, so that would be my recommendation.
Okay. Well, we have one that wants to reduce term limits. Any other comments on that?
Who wanted to reduce them? Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Said because there are some state some state
Yep,
rules
I
on
remember.
that,
I
but.
remember.
Okay.
So just to clarify, you don't feel that the 4-year term limit is a deterrent to people wanting to serve because they feel like that's just a long commitment?
No, I don't.
Too long a commitment?
Cool.
Because I think honestly, people that want to get in, they want to know that they're going to be able to do it for a certain length of time without having to like
Have an election?
fight for it again. Yeah. So,
So how do we handle it? So we simply ask, is there enough support behind reducing the term limit, or do we just have one person, Ken? And,
Everybody's comfortable with a 4-year term
and 3 terms,
and 3 terms.
And
Okay,
3
I'll
terms.
yield.
okay? Susan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I missed a lot of the beginning of this discussion because somehow I got cut off and had to get back on. But I can see both perspectives about 3 versus 4. But I'm wondering if it's not a different problem where finding out ways that could make the position of commissioner a little more attractive and recruiting. I don't recall in the 5 years I've lived in South Pasadena, which isn't a lot, ever seeing anything that said we're looking for, or are you interested in a workshop or something that would describe the job and whatever you may want to. I think it's 2 separate issues, but I'm okay with the 3.
Okay. Yeah, I think you are, Susan, I think you are talking about 2 separate issues. Glenn did ask that question about whether the term limits and/or the length of time would attract or deter people from doing it. But yeah, I don't think you recruit elected officials. I think elected officials choose to run for office on their own and then figure out how to do it. I know I had to.
we do have an informational meeting. I hold an informational meeting every year.
But maybe there could be a open talk, I don't know what the word would be, workshop, a little lecture on how that all works. Might be interesting for the public to know.
Yeah, Carly just said that she does have an informational meeting. How we advertise that to the public, I'm not sure. Is that just go in the local newspaper?
Yeah, it goes in the newsletter. It's on the website. It's on the Facebook page.
Okay.
Just our kind of normal community outreach. Yeah.
So there is I assume before every election? Yeah, okay.
Before the qualifying period, about 2 weeks before qualifying.
Okay.
So sometime like mid-October, and then qualifying is early November.
Yep.
Do you find
The-
that the salary is ever something that people look for? I was just looking at the different ranges of.
Well, that
payments there.
salary is gonna come up in one
Yeah,
of our
that's,
topics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But just how that
Number
interfaces
3.
with this, in terms
Yeah.
of people being
All right, well,
more.
then I wasn't aware of the fact that it does go, I've only been a member of the Pasadena Isle and a couple of groups that are directly related to South Pasadena for a small time. So I'll look out for it.
Okay.
But I'm good with 3 terms.
All right. Any other discussion on this topic? Sounds like we're gonna leave it the way it is. Okay, we good to move on?
I'm good.
All right, next one is 2.3, vacancy.
The only thing I had was on C, it says habitual drunkenness. Could we just put in substance abuse? And that covers more? I don't know.
I put that in also like drug addiction or something, like just to make it more general.
Substance would catch them all, I don't know.
Cover it.
And Larry, let me know if there's something in chat that you wanted to bring up on any of these topics, okay? I did read through it, but I didn't go back and cross-reference them. Yeah, because it doesn't actually say substance abuse, which is a problem nowadays, isn't it? Yeah, so that clarification of wording is probably pretty good. And then everything else is legal in there, as far as being arrested and all that. So any other topic on that? Any other discussion? I'm sorry.
Well, the comment that I see in the chat GPT review is that South Pasadena has highly detailed and somewhat lengthy suspicion removal rules with due process safeguards and back pay provisions. Other cities are generally simpler, often deferring more to general law. So maybe you can give us a little background, Carly, as to why there's so much detail here. Have we had to rely on this in the past?
Honestly, I think it was just very specific from the start, and it's just sort of stayed that way. It's kind of hard once you put something specific into a document, it's very hard to take it out. So my assumption is that it's just been very specific from the start, and it's just been left that way.
I know we had mentioned a couple of things about, who judges incompetence, how do you judge that legally? Is that something that could trip the city up at some point in time, if that was a reason for removing someone?
I mean, potentially the difficulty there is I'm not sure how, because we've talked about this a little bit in the past of how to make that more specific, and it's very difficult. It's very
Because
difficult.
how it is, it kind of leaves it up to the remaining commission members to define competence, which I think is a good idea. Because then they would have to vote on that, provides due process, and they'd have to, provide evidence for the incompetence. Versus incompetence means A, B, C, but we don't need C, but they're,
Right.
Right. So I suggest leaving it a little more open to interpretation, but that's just my recommendation.
Do you think we should add substance abuse or just leave it alone?
Well, that's up to you. I think I don't have a recommendation for or against that.
So, question, if we added substance abuse, is that something that has to get voted on? Because it's changed in the charter? Okay, all right. All right, so yes.
Worth it then to change it then.
Changing it from habitual drunkenness to substance abuse?
Right.
I mean, I will say that substance, and this isn't to deter, we can absolutely recommend that. The hope would be that if someone had a substance abuse problem, that there would be a legal aspect to that, and then the city would rely on the fact that the person was dealing with some kind of legal misdemeanor, felony, whatever. That's what the assumption would be.
Okay,
So we can add it and put that recommendation in there, and then if none of this goes to the ballot, then it would just be the recommendation that the next charter review would look at. But the hope is that even without that, if someone had a substance abuse problem, there would be a legal element that the city should hopefully be able to lean on. Hopefully.
Leave it as is then.
I mean, we can put the recommendation, I'm just letting you know that in
Yeah.
the interim, hopefully, if there is an issue, we'd still be able to deal with
Once
it.
Valenti's
Hopefully.
closes, then we'll have a problem.
I know, right? I know. So,
Sorry.
well, I heard a lot of consensus for putting substance abuse in there, so I think, at least putting it on there, whether whether the commission decides to put it on a ballot or not, we can figure that
Yeah.
out, but it is an excellent idea,
Okay.
so I'd say we put it in there. Did anybody else have anything else in this topic?
My only, I don't know, on the substance abuse topic, no, I'm good with that. but
Oh, okay.
On this section,
Yeah, this section.
it's, if you look at D, where they have the power and authority to suspend without pay, you have this very broad, for any cause sufficient for removal. But then when you look at, to remove a member, you've only got these four things. And it's just, it feels like it's a little out of balance. You know, you have wide, you can suspend pay for anything the commission says is sufficient for removal. Which probably should say sufficient for suspending pay, but, it just felt like that was very broad, but the one for removal is very narrow. Is that by design or is that by accident?
I would guess by design,
My understanding is it's for any cause sufficient for removal, which is pointing to
referring
C.
back up to those lists.
Oh, so it's going back up to those.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
it's
fine.
designed
Thanks.
to reference back to the above section.
I got it. Okay, perfect.
Do we need to put that in there so it's more clear, or I mean, that's what I assumed as well.
Oh, is it? That wasn't what I
Yeah.
assumed, but that's okay.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's
okay,
fine.
because it can be. I
Now,
think
now
it can
she's
be taken
explained it,
both
I'll
ways.
read it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it says, these are the things that are sufficient to remove in C, and then in D it says, for any cause sufficient for removal. I think that's relatively clear, but if we wanted to tack on as in C 1 through 4, we could do something like that, but, that's quite a lot to put.
I also, having only been here a year, I believe if we had a problem like this, the first person we would sit down with would be Kristen. So we would use legal counsel before we make any decision to do anything, and she's gonna review this, reference this document, so, okay.
I'm fine.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
And also, if you look at the following provisions, it gives the person, the commission member who's being considered for suspension, all sorts of opportunities to seek legal advice and be heard and
Yeah.
present a defense and so on, so it's not just you're out.
Okay, so no.
It's lengthy, though. I will say it's very,
It is.
very lengthy.
It is.
Is there anything that you would recommend that we could take out that would not change it in any way, but just maybe?
My only concern with taking things out is you could raise due process concerns. It just doesn't look good to take out, because this is all about due process, they can't take you out of office. So if you take out certain things, you know, it could just look a little fishy, but if there's things that are concerning to anybody, we can
Okay.
definitely talk about it. I don't recommend any.
You don't see anything that's repetitive, that is just saying the same thing in a different way?
I don't, no.
We're on 2.03. We have not moved off of that yet, and that is more than one page. I think we've all been focusing on the first page. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
So I'm still on A, B, C, D.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I didn't have any notes on the next page, so I don't know if anybody else does, but if we are good with that, with no changes,
Wait,
we are,
not, wait,
whoop, oh,
not no changes, or we're gonna recommend adding substance abuse?
oh, we are gonna do that, I'm sorry.
No,
So
I just
we-
wanna make
yeah, we
sure.
are gonna recommend adding substance abuse,
Okay.
yes.
Are we taking out habitual drunkenness or replacing it with that?
I was gonna add it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people that just drink alcohol, but if you walk up and down the streets, there's a lot of people doing other stuff now. So, yeah.
Can we add that? Walking up, never mind.
No.
Get a sniffing dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the next one that we talked about addressing was 2.08, so that's a couple pages ahead, and that is salary of commissions and mayor. And some of you may have already done this, and I apologize because I could not figure out how to get the comma out. But when you look at this, at the top where it says dollars per, there's still a comma in there and it should be a period. So Glenn, can you pass a couple of these? This is what I had to do in my head for it to make sense. This one that way.
Thank you.
So what I did here is I took Carly's information. Did you get one?
No, I did not.
Oh. I only gave you one. I thought I gave you two. Yep.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Thanks.
So I took the information that Carl had. This is just on salary. And I took the city name, the population of the city, the pay of the mayor, And then I broke down the pay of the mayor by the population, so it's just simply divided by the population, okay? And then the next is dollars, and is per person, and it does have a comma in there, that should be a period. So that top one there would be $10.41 each person pays to have the mayor. And then the commissioner, their pay, divided by the number of people, and that's $4.62 or almost 63 cents per person. And you can see where South Pasadena is in this hierarchy. And then just for fun, I am not self-promoting or anything, but just for fun, at the bottom, I took an additional $100 a month, $200 a month, and $300 a month for each of the mayor and the commissioner's positions, just to let you see what they are. Does it all make sense, Glenn, or which, I'm specifically talking about this?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
I was lost, but I think I'm back.
All the commas that appear should be periods.
Yeah, well, in the dollars per, they should be periods. When I changed them to periods, it rounded everything to really bad numbers. So I went back and put the commas back. I couldn't figure out how to get Excel to do what I wanted it to do that day. Yeah, so they should be periods. So dollars per, periods all the way down. So you can see some cities, like you take, just for fun, Clearwater. They got 116,000 people. The mayor makes $51,500 a year. So per person, it's only, it's less than 50 cents per person for his salary. So we're a little different with the size of our city. So again, I'm not self-promoting or anything. I'm just trying to put this, since this is the topic, I try to put it in a format that I could understand.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm gonna let you guys talk through it.
Yeah, I did a different kind of,
Did you? Okay.
same variables, a little different analysis. So
right.
what I did is I sorted the cities by population.
Okay.
And so I think the goal was to sort of compare the salaries for similar population cities.
All right.
So the benchmark group I came up with was St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, South Pasadena's in the middle, and then lower is Madeira Beach and Kenneth City. So those five were sort of the benchmark group that I looked at. And I didn't look at this spreadsheet. I wish I would have. But generally speaking, the South Pasadena is actually in the low range today in terms of salaries when you look at those five different cities.
Okay.
And I could probably do the math with the exact numbers, but I used ranges. So if you look at the mayor's salary range, it was like 12 to 18, and we're at 8 to 15. So we're obviously lower than St. Pete, Treasure Island, and Madeira. We're the same pretty much in the category with Kenneth City.
Okay.
Can I see
so-
your numbers really quick? I'm
You lost
sorry.
me on that.
Okay.
We're at
Can I see
16,000
that? Super. Yeah.
Yeah.
for the mayor, not 8,100 St. Pete.
Well, he probably took the salary that's in the charter, which is the salary from 7 years ago.
Ah.
And then the
that's probably what I did.
salary, the commissioners can vote to either take the same increase
This
as
is
the
an
city
updated version.
employees
That's
or
from
not.
April, this is from May 1st, so I've added cities in as they responded. So
Okay.
if you can see, these are our current numbers, so the mayor's at 16.5 and commissioners are at 12.6.
Okay, so really the ones we should focus in on, I think, are the ones that have similar population. So that would be St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, Madeira, and Kenneth City. So now let's take the new spreadsheet and look at it in that way.
So St. Pete's Beach.
So we're higher than Kenneth City, St. Pete Beach, Madeira Beach, we're higher. St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island,
Oh, Treasure Island. Okay.
so we're,
Treasure Island did not respond to it.
Treasure Island, okay, they're not on my list.
okay.
Well, we'll keep following up with them, but
St.
if
Pete
they didn't get
Beach.
to us, we don't.
Yeah, so
Let's
according
try.
to the salary breakout here, we're actually higher than St. Pete Beach, right?
We are right now.
I'm sorry. St. 68. I gotta do the math. Because St. Pete Beach responded 255,000 annual salary,
That's St. Petersburg.
That's St. Petersburg.
Oh, I'm
Beach
sorry.
is 8,100.
8,100 a month, okay. Yeah, so
Which-
we're higher than all those, looks
That's,
like.
yeah, that's a year.
That's a year?
That's annual salary.
Yeah, annual salary per year, okay.
Yeah, it looks like South Pasadena has is the highest of all of the comparable population-wise towns.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We're still not talking about that much money, right? In absolute sense.
No, the only other, again, not to be self-serving or anything, the only other comment I would say is whatever decision you make here today is in place for 6 years. So if you decide to give an increase, it would become the new dollar amount, and then that would stay in place. And then the only thing they could get would be the 3, 4, 5% a year that we give city, correct?
So the city commission has the ability to adjust their salaries by the, whatever COLA is given to general employees. They don't have to, but they can.
Each year.
So annually,
Each
yeah.
year,
So
yeah.
during the budget process, they determine a COLA to budget for general employees. And then in the fall, they have the ability to adjust their salaries by that same COLA if they want to.
How often
that
has
been-
that
Has
taken
that been
place?
the standard?
Yes, they have been doing it, yes.
Okay.
How often has that actually happened? It was 10 years ago, 2 years ago? 15
Annually.
That they enacted it?
So if you look in here,
Yep, well, is it automatically done?
No, they do it by resolution.
Resolution. So it happened 2 years ago, it happens every year then?
If
get
they
a bump
choose
up.
to, they tell us,
Okay.
do a resolution to adjust by the COLA,
But
and we do it.
historically, did they do it last
Historically,
year?
they have been.
Every
yes.
year, pretty much.
Now, they've only had that
Okay.
ability since the last charter review, so they've only had that ability since 2020. It has happened since 2020, but they've only had that option since 2020.
Great, thank you.
Well, I think that the list that you did, Mark, shows that we're the third highest city of all the cities on this list, and that our per capita is significantly higher than most of the other cities here. So I would be somewhat uncomfortable asking for more money at this point, just because we're looking at this comparison. And I think, Indian Shores, there's like that's like a big shocker, 1,500 people, and you're paying your mayor like $15,000 is kind of like, wow.
it was a shock to me
That's
when I saw that this
Must
week.
be a very wealthy city. And so the only one that's really, other than that one, that's close is Reddington, which also, still 6,000 is like 500 a month, so that's like no money, but, so that's skewed a little bit because they don't have any people in their city either, very, very low population. So I think that it seems to me that we're generous with our commission.
Okay.
And with our mayor, so I would opt to not make any changes at this point.
I will tell you that when I ran for office, I thought I was volunteering for this job. I told Carly that. And then when she told me that I had to fill out a W-2, I said, for what? Or whatever it was. I did not know there was a salary associated with it. Nobody told me. I just didn't do the
There was
homework.
salary when I came.
Wasn't there? Okay.
No,
I didn't-
we started, I believe during my term, we initiated the first.
You started that? Okay.
First
Okay.
salaries.
Yeah. I had no idea.
The what? I'm sorry.
I said there were no salaries when I came on board, and I think we started that during my 3 years. We started a salary for the mayor and the commissioners.
There's been it was before that.
Yeah.
It was a paid position before that.
I mean, you would know, Larry, there is more to the job than showing up 3 hours a month. So,
And this also offsets a lot of out-of-pocket costs that.
It does, yeah.
That most of us never.
we never put in for, yes, right.
Because, in my experience, I used to be head of a co-op board in Manhattan, for, 30 and some odd years, and I never got any money, And I did it mainly to have the place run correctly, so that it didn't fall apart, So I didn't expect money. You don't typically get money in that kind of a position. But that sort of ties into what I was looking at before, is does that motivate, does the salary motivate getting more people to be commissioners, or not?
Well, we just heard.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
I think we'd be having a bigger problem if we weren't as competitive as we are. I will say that, I think we would be having a much bigger problem if we weren't where we are.
Yeah, it's probably not the first thing people go for when they're thinking of doing this kind of job, but it does help.
It helps, once you see there is a decent time commitment, and a lot of it's in the middle of the day, and, you know, you can't do I think it's helpful that the city is competitive.
And I believe we are,
Yeah.
from what.
Well, I mean,
we-
right now, it looks like it.
Yeah, I agree, that's what I was trying to say, I think it's helpful that we're competitive.
So,
Well, it's good to know that there's somewhat of a cushion. I hadn't considered COLA into that, so that upswing me. I agree with what you said, that I think we're very, very competitive. And to your point, Larry, or I'm sorry, John, I've always said people run for office, whether it be a condo association or homeowners association or political office or whatever, for various reasons, but I specifically, having been involved in our condo association over many, many years, it's people run for a couple of different reasons. They either want to affect a change that they personally have a desire to do, whether it be, I want a new door in my condo that people don't like right now, or that to affect a change and to do what you suggested that caused you to be in charge, so to speak. You want to make sure that things are run properly, and you want to make sure your community is
solid.
solid.
Yeah,
Solid's a good word.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I ran a small building, so there were a limited number of people who could get involved. And after a while, you see the level of commitment that they would actually give, or, you know, what they would do. And, you know, a lot of people say they'll do something, but then they don't do it, you know, so somebody, in that situation, I felt like I had to take control, because otherwise, things would just really fall apart. So it's different in every situation. Yeah, exactly.
So what I'm hearing is we're not gonna triple the salary?
Hey, you got a raise on your first day. How much? Go to St. Petersburg then, all right?
I did. You
You
see
can
what the
tell
mayor
Tom you
gets in
tried.
St. Petersburg? Yeah, they do pretty well there, but I hear it's a different.
That's a
like
different environment.
No, okay, so that would mean that the, 2.08, the number would stay the same in there, and it's just gonna be adjusted on an
Adjusted as
annual
it-
basis
You're
for the
not
next.
recommending a change, we would
Not-
just, no recommended changes.
Okay, so,
I agree with that.
okay, everybody good with that? All right. So the next one on the list is 3.05.
Could I just mention
Yes,
something?
absolutely.
I have two comments on other sections, 2.04 and 2.07, minor relatively, but should we do that later?
Well, we did not, I don't know the best way to handle that, Carly. We did not talk about those at our last meeting, so it would be going out of order. Should we keep those till the end, or?
It's really up to you guys. I would say maybe go through the ones that you all agreed that you wanted to talk about,
Yeah.
and then come back to other questions, maybe, because we know that there's ones that the whole group kind
Yep.
of decided
Yep.
to work on,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
It's up to you all, but
Yeah.
that's,
So how about we stay, and then at the end, we are back to John. So I'm gonna put that on here, so we'll come back, and if anybody else has got anything. So- Oh, okay. All right. So we may add some stuff. So the next one on, what we all agree to, is 3.05, which is form of ballot. So for me, I did not have. I was gonna say, I don't have any notes on that, so I don't remember why we came back to, that's,
I
because
think
I'm on the
that
wrong page.
It
There it
sounded
is.
a little vague to some people, so that they just wanted to
Yeah,
discuss.
I wrote down that it should be clarified based on the discussion at the last meeting, and, it's kind of vague.
We're talking about 3.05 ballot.
Yeah, form of ballot.
Determines how the names are listed?
On the ballot? Yes, I believe so. Sorry, middle bite.
well, so I think that it's more than just the names, it's like we took that as also anything in terms of like referendum or questions or anything. And so I think that that's part of why it's a bit purposefully vague, is that we're basically saying that we will organize our ballots in accordance with the appropriate laws. Because there are so many stipulations in terms of not just how you name people, if it's someone running for seats, but how ballot questions are formatted, we now have to do them in multiple languages as the laws continue to change. So my understanding was we are basically committing to say that when we have a ballot for an election, it will be appropriate to the applicable laws. I'm concerned with trying to make that more specific, I'll be honest. Without knowing what the specific issue is that you would like clarified, if that makes sense.
So, what's the ordinance say now?
I'm sorry, which ordinance?
It says the commission by ordinance shall prescribe the form of the ballot.
So that's, so for example, when we had a referendum back in 2020, it came from the recommendations of the Charter Review Committee from 2019. So we had to put all of the ballot questions into the appropriate legal language in both English and Spanish, put it into an ordinance, and brought that to the commission to pass. So the ordinance then outlined what the ballot was going to look like. And so, like, I could pull the one from 2019 if you'd like, but basically there are applicable standards to how we have to do that. So,
Is there state or federal level standards? State level standards of how they have to be?
correct.
Okay.
Which the issue is, so that can change however often. So the difficulty with making it more specific is we could say whatever standard now. If the state law changes it, I have to still follow the state law, because you could put in here whatever you would like to be
Right.
more specific. In the end, it's not really going to change the output that I have to do, because I have to follow state standards, because we can't put something into our code unless you want it to be even more. You could say, you know, in addition to this, you have to do it in purple ink. You could do additional if you wanted to, but I have to meet the legal requirements from the state in the
Okay.
form of the ballot. I have to. So,
Is it only state or is it like local ordinance as well, that my reference here, you know?
my understanding is this is the city saying we will follow state law. Because like several years ago they changed and we now have to do things in both English and Spanish. That was a state law. It tells us what we have to do in both languages. It tells us that we have to use certain appropriate translations. So I have to use like an approved translator to translate from English to Spanish to make sure that it's the appropriate, because there's different words for the word, like poll, for example. A poll worker is not the same as like a poll. So you have to, we have a lot of rules that we have to follow from the state. And so
That could get kind of dicey.
that's why if you want to be more specific, I would just want to know in what way, because that concerns me a little bit, because,
I'm not saying state ordinance, to clarify that, that's.
but it's not necessarily a state ordinance, it's like a state statute. So you could, that's why it just says pursuant to law. I mean, we just kind of,
The ordinance language, and you're talking
that's
about
ours.
That's our ordinance, the city's
Oh,
ordinance, yeah.
that's.
But that's an ordinance that we generate for the election. So it's not something I could even like show you right now. It's if you all put forward referendum questions and the commission wants to put that forward, we would generate the ordinance at that time in accordance with the applicable laws in place then. Does that make sense?
I would think a lot of questions might come from just how people are listed on the ballot. Do we do alphabetical?
We just do alphabetical.
Alphabetical,
Yeah.
because they were nonpartisan, and so, yeah.
It's been the easiest way. It's just been to be alphabetical.
Sure.
So
Is that always the case? And does the state law say it has to be alphabetical on ballots?
I don't believe it has to be alphabetical.
no, I mean there's language that's relatively considered antiquated for cities. There used to be like you could cast lots, basically, which is roll dice. That tends to be a relatively antiquated view. Most places are just alphabetical now. You could do something else if you wanted to, but we would still have to say that we're going to follow appropriate state law, because they could change it at any time.
Okay. So we can make that, the city can make that choice of alphabetical versus not alphabetical?
As long as the state still allows us to,
Okay.
yeah. We've just not chosen to do that because the thought would be that it would generate more conflict internally rather than just saying it is
Should we
what
put
it
that
is.
in? That
It's
will-
alphabetical.
That will list the names in alphabetical order?
I wouldn't recommend
I
that,
will-
because again, the state law could change,
Like,
you know, just, I wouldn't recommend that, but it's not a no, it's just what you do.
Any thoughts on that?
If it's working, then,
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Well,
yeah.
So we have a procedure for it to be alphabetical. It just doesn't happen to be in the charter. You always put them in alphabetically.
Yes, because
Okay.
that is one of the allowable ways to organize your candidates
Okay.
pursuant to state law, and it tends to be the least the most
Complicated,
palatable
yeah.
for
Yeah, yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
you don't have anybody going, that wasn't fair, or that, you know, just, we just,
I wanted to be number one, why were they number four,
Right.
something like that.
and it's the most,
Alphabetical.
yeah, it's the most common, it's what people expect, it's what they're used to. I mean, we have had people go, that's a shame, I'm at the bottom of the it just is what it is, unfortunately, but,
Are you okay with that?
I'm fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think that seems to be a fair way, and, you know, if your name begins with a Z, you can always put an A in front of it and have it officially changed.
Gotta be on your license.
So, all right, any other discussion on that one? Okay. So we are on to 4.01, city commissioners. So this one. Why do I not?
I don't have any notes on this, other than from my own knowledge of how things operate in the city. I didn't realize, I didn't have anything that I was questioning on this myself.
So I would say that the biggest thing that the Chat GPT came up with was that the form of government is not conducive, that's the wrong word. Basically, all the other cities that they reviewed had a city manager form of government, where commissioners are not responsible for any of the operations of the city itself. The city manager is responsible for all of that. And so in all the recommendations that it provided, it basically said, consider changing that to a city manager form of government. So I bring that up because I know it's been discussed before, and I'd like to just hear Carly's thoughts on this and Kristen's thoughts on this, and how this particular city operates under a system that's different from all the other cities in Pinellas County, and what that means.
I think in the entire state, we're one of only two in the
yeah,
entire
there's
state.
like two others that are kind of hybrids-ish,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we're very different.
yeah.
I also wondered about that and the rationale for being one of two in the whole state. And if somebody could explain that, that would be really helpful.
Well, so my understanding of the rationale has been that it's kind of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mindset. I'm not saying that's my personal, but that's sort of been my understanding when the commission has talked about this in the past, was, the city has largely been run very smoothly for many years. I mean, there's bumps along the way, but largely my evaluation tendency is more that we tend to stay out of the paper. So that's, we've not been in the paper for anything super negative. We tend to just be a small, peaceful community. And so it's been a lot of, why would we make a change if it's working? That's my understanding of the rationale for why it is where it is. Because in years past, the majority of cities were run like this, and then over the years it's changed. So many, many years ago, we were not uncommon, and then it has just adjusted over the years, if that makes sense, and we just haven't. That's not to say whether we should or shouldn't, but that's my understanding of the rationale of why we're still where we are.
So from my perspective, Larry, you can give yours also, but from my perspective, not having ever done this before, I have a lot of personal ownership for the department that I'm over, okay? I don't know how commissioners in other cities have that, but my department, I talk to the director on a fairly regular occasion. I go out, I meet with constituents when there's a problem, and all of those issues that come to the specific department that I'm over, they all come to me. If they ask for a commissioner, they don't just come to me. The director handles them all. So I personally like it and feel really good about it. Carly, I don't know if this is the right time, but one thing that I did want to bring up is, I don't know if it's, I apologize, I didn't, I had some notes, but for some reason, I picked up the wrong one. But I wanted to get to a point where you were doing more of the, like annual reviews and that type of thing for the departments, other than the directors, okay, who have like such limited interaction. So I like being there, okay, but I still may only work with my director during the meetings and another half a dozen times a year, whereas Carly works with them on a daily basis, okay? And I don't know how we manipulate that, or if that's part of this, or if that's part of a different discussion.
So that question has been brought up. We've had, commissioners, let's say you come in the spring, and then come November, I'm asking you to give an evaluation for a department head that you haven't known for very long and may not have had much communication with or much personal experience with. So I know that's been a question I think it's been raised to Kristen. My understanding is that the way that the charter was amended at the last referendum in 2020 to add, when city administrator was added in, that is potentially a responsibility that could be delegated from the commission to the city administrator position with the current charter language in place. If you didn't want to pursue making a charter change, there are some of those supervisory or administrative responsibilities that could be delegated.
Just have an org chart just of what the city, I'm just trying to figure out. So you're a commissioner, which department do you have?
Or community improvement, which is permitting and code enforcement.
Oh, permitting and code enforcement, okay, got it. And then, are you sort of, in the absence of the city manager, are you like the hub of the
She is a city
administrative
manager.
operation, or you are the city
Well,
manager?
so I'm both the city administrator and the city clerk at the moment.
Okay,
So-
and that would be traditionally when we use the word city manager, you'd be that person.
So
Just in terms of what you're
the
doing.
city administrator role is considered to be relatively comparable to a city manager role. It's not traditional to have someone doing both. I'll say that.
Okay,
City clerk and city.
City clerk and
administrator.
city
And
administrator,
administrator.
or city clerk and city manager. That
Only
is
does two
not,
jobs.
that is not a traditional approach now.
okay.
It's the under city administrator, and we'll hit this one, but it's number 5. All other functions is delegated by the city commission either by motion or by resolution. So the commission can, by motion or resolution, say, we want the city administrator to handle annual employment reviews for all directors of the departments.
right.
That's the change from 6
So
years.
can that be in our notes? Because I definitely would like to recommend that.
Well,
Or
the thing is, so
only-
the current charter allows for that, so that would just be a city commission discussion. You
Well, that's what I
wouldn't be
mean. I
making
just don't
it-
want to forget.
Yes, I can make that note
That's
for you. It just, that would be separate than the charter
Yeah,
review
that's separate than the
recommendations.
charter review.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can make that note.
And Kristen, can you explain to me, okay, I came from outside corporate world. Titles were everything. You knew the person that you were talking to when you walked in and you met a senior vice president, director of R&D, whatever, you knew who you were talking to. Is there a problem with calling Carly the city manager with the way that our city is structured?
I would say yes, because we're not structured to have a city manager, because we have each commissioner as a director of each department.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't mesh well with how we have to change the entire structure of the city.
Don't want to do that, but, okay. So titles,
Maybe we do want to do that, though. We might want to do that.
okay.
You can, that would be a what you're saying is that would be a referendum
Right,
change,
right.
because it is
Right.
in essence changing the city's form of
Right.
government.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Correct.
So my reason for that comment was, it really doesn't, in the whole scope of things, it really doesn't matter that every other city is run that way and we're run differently, because if, as you said, if it's working. I think it's a matter of two things. One, it's optics. Many cities in Pinellas County have had problems with commissioners getting too involved with employees and heads of departments and trying to tell them how to do their business and trying to elicit services and such that were not appropriate. And even Gulfport in this past charter review put things in their charter specifically prohibiting commissioners from being involved with employees and heads of departments. So that's completely opposite of what we have. So there may be some optics issues. And right now, you know, it's running well, but Carly knows, you bring one person in who might not be able to separate the responsibilities from the other things that might come along with having close relationships with department heads and employees. And things get very uncomfortable, especially for the department heads and the employees who have to now listen to this commissioner over and above a city manager who is hypothetically more impartial, but definitely who has the responsibility for running the city and making sure those departments run well.
The head of the department knows from the get-go, they're gonna be reporting to a commissioner. So
Well,
they already know,
But the commissioners change every year.
but still,
But,
they're
yes,
gonna report to
right.
a commissioner.
Right,
Okay.
and not to another city employee like a city manager.
Well, if the commissioners weren't in this structure, well, where would the head of the department go to if they needed news, complaint, whatever, assistance?
City manager.
City manager.
Almost
manager.
all the cities, and they still do,
Well,
okay?
we
They don't,
in
the
theory,
director
our
does not come to
city-
me when they have a problem. I get involved when the constituents have a problem. But, yeah, I mean, I hear everything you're
And
saying.
you can still do that.
Yeah,
If you can't make the decision, then you have to go to,
yep, which is,
so are we creating more of a logjam rather than having the head of the department go? "Psst." But if it's working, well, listen to me.
I think that this is a good discussion.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets back to, if you look at cross-department coordination, I think the strength of a city manager is you have somebody who is, one, that's their profession. Okay, so I don't know what your experience, you said you don't have a lot of experience, now all of a sudden you're running a department in a public organization. So I think experience is important, and I think the advantage of the city manager model is you have a professional who's used to managing a city. And I think cross-departmental lines and coordination between multiple departments, I think is another advantage of having that model. Now, if the reality is Carly sort of being the city manager in the city administrator role, and the commissioners are acting that way, then that would strengthen your argument that we should go to the city manager model. Because they're sort of doing that, but it's not really by charter. And so a charter to have a trained city professional managing the city and the commissioners focus on policy, not practices and details. And I just, it feels like that's a stronger model in terms of efficiency in running the city.
I would agree with that, and you brought up a very good point about commissioners being focused on policy, and really the things I think commissioners are elected to do, which is to have the big picture for the residents and their constituents. And I know from my experience, sometimes you just get too enmeshed in specific things about the department you happen to be working with or in charge of, and sometimes it just isn't a healthy situation. So, having said that, I totally agree with what you say, and I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. We have a person sitting on the dais who is extremely well qualified to become the city manager without any question.
Correct.
Who can, overnight just change her title and become the person that's doing what she's already doing, which is basically running the city, only doing it with the full force of the commission and the charter behind her. And I think that would be a much more beneficial situation. And then you don't, first of all, you won't have two jobs, you only have one.
I agree with what's being said as well. I think that, just a smooth interdepartmental coordination of things when things cross, having one person that has a consistent way of dealing with those issues based on the policy direction and support of the commissioners makes much more sense.
Were there problems during this permitting process? I know there was some controversy, with the rebuilding of Efton Road, right? I know some people in the community were not happy that in this context, in terms of would a city manager would that have been better doing that, having a city manager manage that rather than,
No, it's an interesting
Yeah,
question. I
it's
want to
an
hear Carly's
interesting
thoughts because every meeting beyond first encounter, Carly was involved. So she certainly knows how to do all that. Yes, and
Doing it anyway, in other words.
in an extremely, extremely professional way. Yeah, but
I think that it's an interesting question, because having commissioners assigned over to different departments and the community knowing that, there is, and rightfully so, the community will call and go, who's the commissioner over this? I want to talk to him. And that happened quite a bit during, the storm and whatnot. And so it can kind of influence how some of that runs depending on the personality of the person in that position. Our hope and what has historically happened, which has been great, is that those individuals tend to then lean back on staff for guidance and help. And so I think we navigated that rather tactfully. So if the city were to have a city manager form of government, I think it would still fall, there's still a level of responsibility that falls to the elected officials to maintain that tact and discretion and to be able to say, I understand you're coming to me with your concerns. You need to relay this to the appropriate staff or bring it into a city commission meeting and discuss it with all of us. There still would be that responsibility of maintaining that. Because also, even in city manager form of governments that are all throughout the rest of the state, if you have someone that wants to overstep, they're going to overstep regardless of whether they're assigned to one specific department or they're not. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I think we navigated that well within that. I think that the city manager form of government can shut some of that down a little bit because you get less of the, well, this is my department, this is my responsibility, I have to solve this problem, they're calling me personally. It does tend to shut that down a bit, yeah. So.
The biggest issue I heard around permitting wasn't within a city. If you talk to contractors, when you go from Madeira Beach to Treasure Island to South Pasadena, there's so many different permitting authorities and so many different processes. And if you look at charter changes, the question is one of what's the best thing to do for the taxpayer is one perspective, the person who's there. And if we have inefficiencies, whether it's the city manager and that interaction, or just the fact that if you look at Pinellas County, what do we have, 23 municipalities? That is extremely rich for a county. And that's a lot of parsing out authority and tax base and duplication of services and duplication of efforts. And so that's where I understood one of the big issues that came to light in the hurricane meeting with the county folks was the fact that we had all these different little cities, each doing their individual own thing. So back to this subject though, if the most efficient way to run a government to me seems to be a city manager. It just feels that if you have people coming in and out of a city structure over time, it's going to create issues. And then the level of past experience. I mean, most of the commissioners probably never ran a permitting or public works, and having the focal point be a city manager just on the face seems to be much more efficient.
I guess I see it both ways. We have commissioners elected anyways, right? So why not have them be in charge or in alignment with the public works, public safety, whatever that is, whatever they choose to. So by having that, does that make it easier for a city manager, city clerk, whatever it might be? So that they don't get like 20 phone calls that, geez, you should know that, you've been doing this
Well, no,
department, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I understand. I think it would be less about, dealing with the volume of the questions and more about there is something to be said for being able to say, let's sit down and meet with the commissioner of that department, because you are sitting here and you are speaking directly with somebody that you voted for, right? That's your neighbor that lives in your community. There is an element of that that I think is helpful a lot in working out differences with members of the community that doesn't tend to go that way when they sit down with just staff, if that makes sense. So there's been a level of almost it being a more personable interaction.
Okay. I also see it Ken's way, where let's say you're the head of Public Works, and now he gets another commissioner that has no idea about
Right.
Public Works, and he goes, I gotta
Right.
train this guy again,
Yeah.
because the department heads can be employed for 10, 20.
Oh, yeah,
There's no,
yeah,
limit, yeah,
right.
just as long as they're doing well.
I can see their frustration, saying, really, here we go again? So I kind of see it both ways. I don't know if it's legitimate what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but kind of see it both ways.
So,
We're not,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, we're not done with this topic, but it's an hour and 15 minutes. You wanna take a bio break for 5 or 10 minutes? I figured somebody would have to. Do we just pause it? What do we do?
Yeah,
Okay, we're just, let's take a 10-minute max break. Is that good? All right.
I just got one mission.
No, that's fine.
Thank you, Mark. You must be in charge of public safety.
Exactly 10 minutes. That was beautiful.
That's,
Wow. Good job. I'm sorry.
it wasn't by plan,
That was,
trust me.
yeah, exactly 10
May
minutes.
I comment on our previous discussion prior
Please.
to the break? Because this is a big, if we recommend this to the commission or to the city, my understanding is, that's all we do is we recommend, and
Correct.
then the commissioners and the mayor and all that vote yay or nay to our recommendations. So it's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel, but this would be a pretty big thing.
I would think so. yeah.
I would tend to definitely agree that for efficiency purposes, a city manager makes sense. On the other side, I see the relationship, personal relationship. We also are fortunate, I had to ask Carly how long she'd been with the city earlier, because I had forgotten, but we are fortunate that we've had consistency. And maybe, is that one of those things, and you can answer this or not, that over your 16 years with the city, maybe you were given more and you did more because that's just who you are? And are you being compensated for that? Or, I worked in corporate America. I probably did it as a manager. Can you handle one more closing?
Yeah.
But also to be sensitive to, it's a budget issue. It brings up budgeting issues on salary for a city manager compared to a vice mayor, to a, how that all plays out. And I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but they would have to do that if we chose to recommend. Is that my understanding? If we recommend this?
So you recommend it to the city commission, they would evaluate it, ask all those basic questions, decide if they want to pursue it, and then it would go to referendum to the community to decide, because it would be changing the form of government.
Okay.
So now, the other option that they had, which I think was potentially part of a longer design when the city administrator position was added, during that charter review, when that position was added, there was discussion of making it city administrator slash city clerk, because they knew that I had the willingness to do either one. My concern with that at the time was that I am fine doing either one. I don't know that someone else would be, have the willingness or the credentials, because a city clerk is also a credentialed position. There's trainings, there's certifications, there's classes, there's work involved with that as well. And so it just so happened that I would be happy to do both, that's fine. But it was added as a separate position to allow for those to become separate when the city decided to do that. And so that is sort of that is the option that is in place with the charter that is there, is to separate the two positions. Because it is sort of what you've said, I love the city, I'll do whatever the city asks of me, I have no problem with it. Over the last couple of years, I think it's both been with legislative changes and then with the storms, for example, it has become more difficult probably within the last 18 months to 2 years to do both positions. So I think whatever route you choose to go in terms of whether or not you want to recommend changing the form of government or not, I think that the two jobs need to be separated. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yes, you did. Yes, you
But
did.
I think the jobs need to be separated.
Well, I think too, looking at the job description of the city administrator, some certainly could be changed, beefed up, or whatever terms we want to use, to easily slide into a city manager role. Instead of assisting, you would do administering.
Right.
That sort of thing. And so, I want to say again, because I've worked with you, I don't see another, I don't see anything that you could do to become more qualified to serve in that role.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's true. And the fact that you are now basically doing two jobs is, I don't think that's fair to you or the city or anyone else, because, you need to have a life too. You have a family, you have all those other things. But I know you, and I know that you're fine with this, because that's just the kind of person you are. I would think that the city would definitely benefit by having you as a city manager, and then allowing someone else to do the city clerk work, which is also, as you said, it's a key role.
It is.
And
It's
very,
absolutely.
very stringent as far as deadlines and certain things that have to be done according to state law and
Yeah.
so on. So, my thought is, maybe it's just time for South Pasadena to just get into that more streamlined, more efficient form of government, and let the commissioners do what commissioners and elected officials do in other cities, which is work with their constituents. People are still gonna call you no matter what. But now you have the overview of the entire city instead of focusing on a single department. And I think that just would make for better, more efficient operation of the city, and also allow the commissioners time to spend with their constituents or becoming more involved in county government and boards and committees and things like that, going up to the state legislature and trying to put some sense into some of the things that, trying to preserve home rule and things like that. I mean, that just seems to be the better way to use the abilities of the commissioners who've been elected by their constituents, is to serve the constituents directly.
In your past 18 months, what percentage were you city clerk? And I know the past 18 months were different times. What percentage were you city clerk, and what percentage were you without the title city manager? If that's a fair question, I'm just curious.
It's difficult because honestly, the city clerk role is constant. I mean, they're both relatively constant because the city commission meets on a set schedule, and so everything that the commission does runs through my office. So all of the meetings, all of the agenda packets, all of the minutes, everything that we're doing in here runs through my office. So it's honestly, I would have a difficult time answering that question.
Day to day, did you ever think to yourself, why don't we have a city manager?
So
Out of curiosity. Because you got the.
It's more that I am becoming increasingly aware of the opportunities that I have to turn down on behalf of the city. Like I can't go to certain meetings or conferences because I can't step away from my clerk role to go to this. But I can't go to this because I can't step away from my administrative role in oversight because of it. I feel like I'm doing as well as I can. I have become dissatisfied in my own performance for the city, if that makes sense.
It doesn't really fall on you, I wouldn't.
So,
Does the city manager have say over the mayor, vice mayor, or anything like that?
no,
Initiatives?
it's advisory only, no.
Thank you. Okay.
And just to clarify too, this city clerk, city administrator, or city manager position, as is, could be separated by the commission, and there could be a city administrator and a separate city clerk.
Correct.
So
Right.
we don't have to transition to a city manager form of government in order for those to be separate positions. They are separate positions in the charter already, and that's up to the commission to decide on what they want to do.
That would be the path of least resistance if we were going
It's
to
just a
go that way.
path that we could go that's
Versus the
already in the
city
charter.
manager.
But I'm not saying city manager is not.
Right. No, I
I'm just
understand that.
explaining you don't have to do
Okay.
that to separate the positions.
So if we went to city
Okay.
manager, that would cause us to have to go before the community and they would have to vote on
Correct.
resolution, is that what it's called?
Yes.
If we choose to let it alone but still maybe recommend to the commission that they separate those duties, does that make sense? Because it's already in the charter, did I
You can
understand?
make that recommendation, it just doesn't require a charter change.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, I, looking at this and listening to what you said, listening to your questioning, listening mostly to what you said, it just seems to me it's a no-brainer to go to the city manager because of the fact is that today you're in that conflict of roles. Because the city clerk role is a day-to-day, you gotta execute type things.
Correct.
And the city manager role has to look across the city and prioritize based upon those different activities. And the commissioner and mayor role, as I'm hearing, is more interfacing to the constituency. You brought up the point about lobbying or doing whatever up at Tallahassee. We're talking about three different roles, and the charter doesn't really make that clear. And I think it really confuses the point when the commissioners are doing the internal management of the employees. And I totally agree with you, what you said about the commissioners focused on the constituents. And so to clean that up, I think definitely getting you out of this dual role thing has even become more of an issue for me. And I think the city manager gives you a career path growth opportunity, I would think, versus city administrator. And
Hold on, now
we
the
can
growth
solve-
is going to a bigger city. Don't
I
open that door,
wasn't
Ken.
Well, no,
I
no, you
wasn't
can go to a bigger
planning to
city,
leave.
or you can stay in the
So-
same city and have a bigger role. And the city manager,
just
I think,
kidding.
would provide you what I would consider to be a bigger
Yeah.
role, because now you have line responsibility versus staff responsibility. And I think that's just an idea.
Now, is anyone here on this committee opposed to the recommendation of going to the city manager?
Well, my thought is, can we accomplish that easier going on what you just said?
Oh, versus what's already in the charter?
Well, you said let's go to a city administrator or something like that?
Manager, city manager.
Oh,
Specify
oh.
that out as, I don't know how the best way to say it.
So we have two possibilities. One is Carly's doing two jobs right now.
Exactly.
Taking that job, splitting it in half, okay? So that relieves some of that pressure, okay? Then the other one is reorganizing the entire, basically the whole city charter of how it's set up, right? Pretty much.
Not the whole thing, but
Okay.
Part of it, yeah.
A part of it, how the city charter is set up, where the commissioners and the mayor, okay, would be the governing board.
Right.
And then Carly would, or the city manager, obviously would be the title, would be responsible for the day-to-day. So what is your question based on those
I
two
thought
things?
Becky recommended the same concept, but used different words, I don't know.
I
why.
may have.
Like,
I
you
put it
said
in Becky
city
language.
administrator, we
No,
can get that.
city manager was the focus that I had,
Oh,
making
okay.
that position,
Okay.
restructuring South Pasadena to be like 98% of our
Gotcha, gotcha.
neighboring city or cities.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you.
So
I've not
basically,
been
the
well.
city manager would become the CEO, if you look at it that way. I mean, if you're looking at it in an organizational way.
Yeah.
yes.
And the
And the
commission
commissioner
is the board.
of directors,
Yeah.
correct?
I wouldn't focus as much on the splitting of the roles and like, because that's already in the charter.
Okay.
Clerk and the administrator are two separate positions, and Carly is doing two separate positions currently. Or the future person will be doing two, or will hire two. So the separation of those roles is already done.
All right.
What we're really discussing is if we want to move to a city manager form of government, or
Okay.
keep it as it is, and that's up to the commission if they want to separate those two positions.
Why haven't they filled that position if it's always been something that needs to be filled?
It is filled currently by the same person.
Well, that's, right, but that is
Sorry.
technically
It's
a
all right.
separate job that a person needs to do. So why haven't they hired somebody to do that second job that Carly's doing?
So they created
I
that job
off
in
base?
2018 and just asked me to add it to what I was already doing.
But that doesn't sound efficient, maybe.
I mean, I think it's
Just my opinion.
it's sort of a situation that's adapted over time, I guess, and so then they just sort of almost
Will
formalized
it
it.
produce the
if that
results
makes
for the
sense.
city? Or, I'm just beating this to death.
Well, are you being paid to do two jobs, or are you just doing two jobs, you know?
I am just doing two jobs.
That's not
It
right.
doesn't
No,
seem fair.
no.
You really should. What would you prefer doing if you had to pick between the two?
The city administrator role.
Yeah, okay. So then the city could hire a city clerk. I mean, that's one option.
Yeah, I like
Make
that.
it more fair.
It just feels to me the rhythm of the business is different. Like you said, with the clerk, you have certain obligations you have to do, and it's just a certain rhythm. And the city administrator, if it is a manager, has a different rhythm. And so doing those two jobs together, if we go to the city manager model, I think it would be very difficult. And I think the other thing is line versus staff. You know, if the city manager has line responsibility for those employees, today the line responsibility rests with the commission,
Correct.
and you're in a staff role. So it would be a difference in my mind being line versus staff. I just think it's more efficient. That's where I'm at, to be a city manager model.
Okay. I don't disagree. I want Carly to be a city manager. I don't know what that would entail, so I guess that would have to come up before the commission, and talk through that, more. I'm a title person, so I think that represents what she does on a day-to-day basis. being the city manager. Whether the other commissioners want to relinquish, the responsibilities that they have for the departments or not, I guess we'll have to find out, so.
I thought it was interesting you said too about writing their performance review. I always think about,
It's
at
just a
least
pet
my,
peeve of mine, yeah.
my experience is the person who manages writes the review. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of dynamics involved in that.
There are.
And-
Yeah.
And I just think it's difficult for a commission to write a review for a career person.
Yep.
If they're being managed by that person, that's one thing, but if they're being managed by somebody called the city administrator, that's a different thing. So I think really getting that cleaned up, I mean, even if you were to keep the administrator, I think that's an area that needs to be cleaned up. Who do they really work for?
Yes.
And,
Agreed.
I think the city manager is.
So that wouldn't be changing the charter, that would just be an assignment, right? to
You
the-
could make that change now.
Okay.
Without a charter change, you could make that
Okay,
change now.
so, that is definitely that I want on our thing, to be able to talk about.
Your title is city clerk now, but
That's what that says, yeah.
do you have one also that says city administrator?
Do I have one of these? I don't know, my card says both, I just don't think they ever adjusted. When I'm sitting here for our commission meetings, it is in this role.
Right.
Correct.
There's really no tag.
It's a lot to fit on a tag. It's a lot to fit on a tag.
A name tag that wraps up.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very
Well,
long.
You need two of them.
It's
What
very
is it
long.
we could change now?
Oh, splitting her, Carly has 2 job
Right.
assignments. We could split that now,
Right,
okay, without doing anything except, going to commission, asking them to hire another person, okay? Because that's what you would have to do,
Okay,
okay? And then she would be the city administrator,
yep,
and then the commissioners would still be over the departments.
They could assign, for example, to say the city administrator will do performance evaluations for the department heads. They could make that determination now.
Yeah.
Since that's the example that has been brought up of
Yes.
like a responsibility, we
Would
could
that-
change that now.
Keep in mind, let me just add this one
Okay.
little thing.
Yep.
Keep in mind that even though the commissioners are over the department, we don't have any day-to-day, week-to-week, or month-to-month obligations
set
for that
obligations,
department.
correct.
Okay? Carly has at least 2 meetings a month with every department head, probably more.
Yeah, I see
But
everybody
that's not
every
what the
day.
charter
Yes,
says.
yes.
I see
That's not
everybody
what the
every day.
charter says. If we were to go to the city manager, number 1 and 2 would change greatly, because it would
Yes.
say something to the effect that under the direction of the commission, the city manager oversees, coordinates all full-time employees.
Yeah.
Right now, it says assists.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big mental mindset, the difference between staff and line. And it makes no sense to me if the commissioner is the line manager.
Right.
They don't write the evaluations. Having somebody sidebar as staff and putting staff in that position doesn't feel very comfortable to me, having managed people. I mean, it's just, I think the line manager needs to be responsible for that,
Right.
whoever it is.
Carly meets with the departments, the
Department
commissioners,
heads.
department heads, the
Yep.
commissioner's not there.
We're not.
No.
No, and we're not obligated to be there. I'm
I
sure we
meet with
could.
the, we
Yeah.
have directors meetings every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I see everybody basically every day, but we have a meeting with all 5 of us every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So if we separated the 2 jobs, let's say as of today, just to speak of. Is that a quick step to see that in the next couple of years, we should do a city manager?
I mean, that
Or
would be
not.
one way to approach it, is to separate the 2 and see how the commission likes that adjustment and see what they would want to do, and then consider
How quick could we
pursuing
do that? I should
Separate
know.
it?
Yeah,
as quickly as you could hire somebody.
I'm sorry?
As quickly as you could hire somebody else.
Could even happen
You-
next week.
You can't do it, Glenn.
Oh, no,
Are
I
you?
know you would if you
Are you
could.
a master?
I can read Carly's mind. No, not him. I'm kidding, So
The
we
city
could
clerk
do,
position would be easier to fill than the city administrator position.
who would
Now,
approve that, the mayor?
I'm sorry?
Who would approve that, the mayor?
The hiring process would probably still go through my office, but yeah, we would have the mayor as part of
Oh.
the hiring process.
But the commission just approves the job, right? Of 5
Correct.
people?
Yeah, you would just say this is what we want, because it would be
Because it's a budgetary
relatively
item.
significant budgetary item, because there is not another full salary budgeted for this position, so
Yeah.
there is a
I mean, the
budget.
City manager's a good idea, but how long does that take to
Right.
go and interview and that? is
That's
there
what I
more-
want to make sure you understand, that it's a more lengthy process to go
Right.
to a city manager because it
Right.
has to be
Correct.
voted on by the citizens of South Pasadena in the next
Right.
election.
Voting cycle.
So it's not
Yes.
like it can be done tomorrow, or yeah,
No,
next
it
voting
takes
cycle,
about a year.
yes.
Right.
So,
But you could still separate, because of the way it's written
Correct.
out, you could still separate the two positions,
correct.
hire that other person, and continue that way
Before.
up until the time there is that referendum.
You
correct?
could,
Make the recommendation that
That makes
way,
sense.
the recommendation to the commission, that we recommend that we go to the city manager with the caveat, if you will, of looking at separating those responsibilities currently prior to the next election, if the commission chose to approve that.
I think that might be a win-win, because we get the second position already established while we're moving towards the city manager.
Right.
And that makes it easier, in
Transition.
my opinion, on Carly, and accomplishes getting, this is all yours, this is mine.
Right.
Okay.
Carly, do you have
If
to
I
do-
said that right. Check me,
I
please.
understood- I
Oh,
understood what
God,
you
if
said.
you God bless her.
Do you have to do any further specific training or certifications to become a city manager, or do you have all that done already?
would I need to?
Yeah.
Only if the cities had a set of credentials that they wanted me to specifically have. I'm a certified public manager, I have my MBA. I mean, I have the standard credentials.
So you wouldn't have any, like you have to, for city clerk, I know you have to do certain things and
Correct.
get certain qualifications, or, it's not the right word, certifications.
Yeah.
So is there a city manager certification that you have to tick off?
No, there's memberships to certain professional organizations that you can only do if you're a city manager. Now, I've gone through some of those and I have sort of an alternate membership to it because we don't have a city manager form of government, but I get all of the same information. And I participate in the city manager meetings within the county. I mean, there's not necessarily anything I would need to do differently. It would allow me to do a couple of extra professional things, but
So you could step into the role tomorrow?
Yes.
Is what I guess what I'm asking, without having to go through any lengthy preparation, or
Correct.
you don't have to take the bar?
no.
So let me just make sure, Larry, that I understand. You're asking if there is really a difference between city administrator and city manager as far as credentialing goes?
Correct.
Okay, all right, yeah.
There's always more you can get. There's
Sure.
not anything that I necessarily don't have that would preclude me from filling whatever position you'd like me to have.
And you mentioned about not having a salary budgeted, but since these are already two positions in the charter, I would imagine there's been some discussion over whether or not to look at budgeting another salary position for this, if in fact right now the commission could just say hire that second person and then we will find the money to,
You'd have to do a budget amendment. If
Yeah.
it happened in the
Yeah.
current fiscal year, we
Yeah.
would do a budget amendment.
okay, so that's not a tough thing,
No, they just have to agree to spend the money. Yeah.
okay.
And then it would just be, there'd be a budget. We have to do a budget amendment once or twice a year anyway.
Sure.
So anytime something changes, because you predict as best you can, but stuff changes.
Okay.
So, I mean, it would be
So would there be any other significant hurdles to doing what we're recommending?
Not necessarily. Probably the only other one which feels a little bit odd is that we are relatively short on space because of the loss of space from the hurricane. So we have people tucked kind of in some strange places. For example, we've had commissioners give up offices because we've had to move some staff around. So we actually have staff occupying commission offices. So I would most likely need to commandeer a little bit of space. But
We never use those offices.
Maybe you did.
so
We just put our stuff in there and showed up once in a while.
We still have our.
Susan still in there? Oh,
That's
Oh,
what I
that's a
thought.
bummer.
That's what I thought.
she was there when we took a break,
oh,
wasn't she?
Susan, I mean, the screen's blank, so I can't tell.
I mean, the screen
I don't
was
wanna
shut
touch
off even
it.
if she was still on the phone.
Right, that's what I would have thought.
Battery go dead?
That's,
Plugged in.
Oh,
I didn't
excuse me.
I
was trying to keep it on
apologize for
time.
not even asking that.
Burn
That's
me.
terrible.
I just haven't
Well,
been
when we
looking.
lost her the first time, she called back on the main line,
Oh,
and they
okay.
came in and said she called back.
All
That's
right.
why I got her back on again. So I don't know when we lost her, and I don't know if she's called back. I apologize.
Yeah.
I will see if I can. Let me move this up there. I'll see if I can get her back. You guys could keep going. And I'll see
All
if
right.
we can. I would assume if they haven't brought me in a little post-it that she hasn't tried to call
Right,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I completely understand at this end of the table, we're recommending at this point in time, okay, to bring to the commission that we separate the city administrator job and the city clerk job, okay? So 2 jobs. And that the city commission evaluate going to a city manager type government, which is going to mean that the mayor and the commissioners, okay, are basically going to be the board of directors, and we're going to have a city manager that takes care of all the day-to-day operations of the business. Or go ahead, Glenn.
If that happened, then that would eliminate the city administrator.
No, it's the same job. It just changes title and gives her more responsibility.
Yeah,
Right,
so
but
there
if
would
it-
be a city manager in lieu of a city administrator.
There would not be both.
There would not be both,
One would
correct.
become the
Oh,
other.
sorry, I
Right, so you did
misunderstood.
the city administrator for a year and the city manager came on
Whenever
board, you
they- yeah.
could be gone?
No, she'd be the city manager. We're doing all this for Carly.
Well,
No,
you-
don't do it for me.
No, I don't mean that. but
We have to-
We want Carly.
We have to make a proposal to have the city manager,
That is
even though
It would-
Carly may be doing the city administrator job before that happened.
Correct.
Yes.
Because changing to city manager, it changes more than just that job. It shifts responsibility from the commission to someone on staff.
Right.
Because right
Right.
now,
Right.
I serve them. They decide on their initiatives, priorities, whatever. I follow their direction. A city manager has a little bit more independent thought in terms of coming up with initiatives and then presenting. It shifts authority from one to the other, if that makes sense. So the commission right now has more authority than it would have if you switched to a city manager form of government. Some of that authority shifts from the commission to that employee. So it is a different setup. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, but it makes some changes.
So eventually, we got a city manager. The city administrator would not disappear.
It would disappear.
The
That's
city,
what I'm saying.
yes, the city administrator position would shift into a city manager
Right.
position, but there is a slight difference in the two, if that makes sense. One would
Big
become the
difference in
other, but there's a difference.
So who does the city attorney work for in the city manager form of government? The city manager or the
The
commission?
commission,
Still the commission?
yes.
And the heads of the department all work for the manager, right?
In the city manager form of
In the city
government, correct,
manager
yes.
form of government.
So
we'd
for
have-
example,
have
if
to
you have-
change these other
Yes.
paragraphs to map to that.
Like right now, if there's an issue with the director, and there aren't, everybody's great, but if there was an issue with the director, I would need to sit down with the commissioner and go, there is this issue, there needs to be a disciplinary whatever, we need to terminate and put whatever. That, in essence, is right now that commissioner's decision.
Right.
Like, if you change it to city manager, the city manager can hire and fire without the approval of anybody on the commission. If that makes, so like, that's the type of difference that there is. And then the city commission is just directing the city manager on are we happy or are we not with the overall of how the city is doing. But like right now, if there is an issue with the director, I have to call up the commissioner, which is just working fine. I shouldn't say I have to,
no.
but that's what I do.
It's just
When
an
we-
example.
Correct. We have had issues in the past. We have had to end the employment of a director, and I go through, I work with the appropriate city commissioner. I sit down and go, here's the issue that we're having. Here's the disciplinary route I think we need to go. And then, but the ultimate termination of employment comes from that commissioner, not from my position. The way that we are right now. And same with hiring. The ultimate hiring of directors is chosen by a specific commissioner.
And also just keep in mind, as we consider making this change, while we all want Carly in the city for eternity, we're creating a new position for the future of the city. So someone else, rather than someone filling this administrator role, which in reality, someone's not gonna come on and be doing everything Carly's doing based on these job descriptions. We're creating more of a position that the city manager could come in and have more leeway, which Carly's kind of already doing in a sense. Does that make sense?
And I'll say this, we've been very, very fortunate. I would hate to lose a valuable employee, member of our community, because she's spread too thin and can't do everything that's being required to do. As a hiring manager in corporate America, that was one of my biggest problems with corporate America, that they don't see the stress, everything that goes into that. And I just think it makes efficiency sense. It really just makes, in general, sense.
I agree. So we have to reword some of these other
We do.
descriptions?
Kristen
Or
does.
would-
No, we come up with the
Yeah, yeah, so
ideas.
you can come back with a
Yes.
recommendation of what it really
Yeah,
looks
and then
like.
you can comment on the language. I don't know, it looks like we're probably gonna be doing another meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not, there's no way we're getting through all this today.
All right.
Suggested language.
Well, we bang this one.
So,
And so we have, I know we have these 4 that are in, well, maybe we should do a more formal consensus on if we wanna do a city manager form of government recommendation.
okay. So, do you want to actually take a vote or just say aye? All in favor of a city manager's form of government, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's the direction we're gonna head with this team.
Do we have the ability to, when the commission does meet, do we have, as committee members, have the ability to sit in on those?
Absolutely.
Everyone,
Public,
they're
yeah.
all public.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone.
Yep.
Yes. Please do.
So
Yeah,
just,
before last time.
um,
There was plenty of room.
so just
Excellent.
Just for informational purposes, this is a sample, this is the, Charter Review Committee recommendation, report
2019.
from the last time the charter did this, so you can kind of flip through.
Thank you.
So a document like this, well, we actively work on it during this whole process, so I have already started ours for this
Okay.
cycle. So if you wanna flip through, you can see the highlighting, which will show the strike through and underline of what the recommended changes were from the last charter process.
Okay.
So, this report will be generated and presented to the city commission, and you all will be notified of when that is going to happen, and it will be at a public meeting that you would be welcome to come to. You're not required to come, but you're welcome to.
I would just be curious
So-
to hear, how that works and what everybody thinks about that.
Yeah, decision making.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the commissioners would love to have you in the audience.
Yeah.
That's the biggest complaint that I hear, okay, is how do we get more of our constituents, how do we get more of our neighbors to show up and be part of the process?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You have
It's
to have
hard.
a controversial topic that.
That's,
people
that's,
vote.
yeah,
That's it, and then the
Yeah.
place is jammed.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's true.
So this looks more like the edit as opposed to the rationale. And I
It
think
is,
it'd be
yeah, yeah.
useful to
And I was thinking
put
it's-
a paragraph rationale, what,
No, yeah,
why do
we
we
don't-
say this?
yeah.
That would be useful.
it looks,
Yeah.
well, you'd have to go back and listen to the entire recordings of the
Correct.
last one, right?
Yeah.
Which are
Yeah.
probably on file somewhere, but.
Yeah, everything is available and the
Yeah.
minutes are available.
But this
and-
looks like, like we're saying, add substance abuse or,
Yeah.
something
Right.
like that. It's just the revisions.
Yeah.
This is very nice, good. So, are we officially done? What was that, 4.01? Is that the one we've been working on? Well, that's commissioners.
1 through 5.
Yeah, it kind of is 1 through 5.
Yeah, well, it is all 1 through 5, okay.
Yeah. Can I make one small suggestion?
Please.
Is that okay? So in the event that the commission, chooses not to pursue a referendum question for city manager, there is one kind of issue with phrasing in here that I would like to mention to you all, because if they don't choose to do that, I would love for them to take a look at another small edit. If you look at, 4.01, which is city commissioners, it's like 3/4 of the way down. There's a sentence that says commissioners shall be directors of respective city departments. Y'all see that? This is not coming from a place of trying to change anyone's existing authority, but the charter calling commissioners directors of respective departments has become an administrative nightmare for me, because the city has traditionally called our department heads the directors. Like you have a director of finance, you have a public works director. So it is administratively difficult to me. And I think when it was written, it was just meant to be like, they shall supervise and shall be, the point is that the charter assigns a commissioner to oversee a department. But the use of the word director right there is problematic in my day-to-day. And so if they choose to not make changes that would change the form of government, I would love for them to at least look to changing. It's not a huge thing. If they choose not to go to referendum for anything, we will continue to operate. But it is problematic to me, because we literally have positions called director of this. And so I just,
What should it be, or just the word director removed? Or
either,
how do you-
yeah, just, I mean, shall oversee the city departments and so supervisor, like, that would be fine, but it's really, it says that they shall be the director, and that's like that is a position we have on staff, and so
Yeah, that's horrible, you're right.
it's become, you know.
'Cause we don't.
We just kind of, and then you jump down, the next one is head of department, so the head of the department, which is really the directors.
Right.
So it's that use of the word director in that
Yeah.
previous paragraph that I would love if you all would be on board with recommending to change that, not from any other reason other than it is confusing.
Yeah, it cleans up the verbiage.
It is confusing. So we have had, when there have been stronger personality, I shouldn't say stronger personalities, but there have been certain personalities on the commission that have gone back and read this years past, nobody now, but has looked back and go, well, I'm the director of this department. I have to go,
No, you're
I mean,
not.
not really. You know, it has caused, some people have latched on to that in ways that I don't think it was intended when it was written, if that makes sense. So that's my one.
May I make a comment on that? So thank you. You reminded me that I had underlined that. I'm just trying to think how it might be written. Like, commissioners shall oversee their respective city departments, and then it says shall supervise and
Yeah.
direct that department. I don't think they supervise and direct. I would just say supervise their respective city departments, and then period.
I mean, we could, yeah.
Or just commissioners shall oversee respective city departments.
I would
Period.
Yeah, I like
Period.
that high of a level.
Yeah.
If not even higher.
Yeah.
Commissioner-
I like that.
Yeah.
Commissioner is assigned,
Yeah.
department for
Supervisor.
whatever, yes.
Yep. So we like oversee, is that what we're saying?
Yeah,
Is that
does that
fair?
work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. We can
And
come
then
up with.
just stop after city departments and take out that whole rest of that next line? Is that what you're saying?
The rest of that sentence.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
We can think of a few words.
yeah, we can look at it and come back to you at the next one with an edited version to see if you're all are okay with it. But it's really the word director
Yeah.
that is the sticking point for us, because it is the formal name of positions we actually have on staff.
Yeah.
So what about the following sentence about commissioners shall have the right to appoint or dismiss the head of the department? Obviously, if there's a city manager, that will go away.
Right.
But for now, do you see eliminating that or just changing that to something? Because that kind of goes back to, we've just said you can't supervise or direct the department. Now we're saying, oh, but we give you the right to appoint or
Yeah, I mean,
dismiss.
the safety guard there is the subject of the approval of the entire commission. So if you did have one commissioner that's kind of went a little bit rogue,
Yeah.
the entire commission can say, no, they're not fired, which has actually happened here, as you're aware. We don't like when that has to happen, but I think that there is that safety net in there.
Could we say they have the right to recommend appointment or dismissal?
The issue is, I would say, who are you recommending it to?
To the entire commission, I guess?
I mean, you could.
I mean, it's subject to the approval of the commission.
Right, I think that's, yeah,
Yeah.
in theory, that's kind of what is happening now. Because if someone is terminated, their appeal process is to the entire commission. Directors, lower level, there's a different appeal process, but at the director level, if your commissioner terminates you, the appeal process is to the entire commission.
See, a city manager would eliminate all that.
Right.
See
Make it a
how
lot
easy that would
simpler,
be?
more
My
efficient.
goodness gracious.
We really have to drive down that rabbit hole to tell you what
When
language
does
to
that
use, or
person
can
come
we,
on board?
can we,
Pardon me?
When does that person come on board?
what person?
The city manager?
Well, there has to be the referendum, Yeah. yeah. So,
Next week,
right.
We have a city administrator.
Who makes all these recommendations, yes,
He's with us day to day to day.
absolutely.
Before
So,
the city
was
meeting.
that the only one? You said there may be one other one?
No, that's it.
Okay, is everybody in
I'm
agreement?
good.
That's okay?
Okay.
Oversee?
All right.
Would that then take us to 402, where it says head of department? Do you want to change that to director of
No,
department?
I mean, I don't know that that's,
Consistency?
I think it's, because we are, like, we're the finance director is the head of the finance department. It would create a whole nother referendum question that I don't know is necessary.
Just by changing it from head to
just by
director?
changing, yes, yep. Because each change like that you do is its own question.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay,
So, when you make the move to the city manager model, it seems to me you're gonna impact all four of these
Correct.
paragraphs, and that ought to be one question, not four.
that would be one.
Okay, all right, that's
Yes.
fine. So we would impact all four of these with that one city manager.
It would basically, my
And you vote
understanding
yea or nay on
would be that should the city of South Pasadena
Adopt the
change
city manager
from
model.
city commissioner form of government to city manager form of government.
It would change 401, 402, and 405.
Yeah.
Probably clerk and attorney would stay the same.
Would the clerk report to the city manager, or would the clerk report to the commission?
The clerk typically reports to the city commission, cause the goal there is that you have a little bit of separation, which we've not had to worry about because the city commission is so involved
Right.
in what you're doing. Because in theory, if you have a city where the city clerk reports only to the city manager, if there is something that somebody wants to do and the city manager doesn't want it, they just shut it down. The city manager should not have full authority over the clerk's office, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is there one of these city manager associations guide to best practices for city management structure? I mean, is there some guide or best
I
practice
think the
manual
Florida
or
League of
something we
Cities
could read?
has some things.
The what?
The Florida League of Cities,
Yeah,
I think they
Might
have
be
some
good to-
resources, yeah.
find something there, maybe send it to the
If the
group.
commission wants to pursue this, we will be, yeah,
Definitely
it will
gotta do
be it will be an undertaking, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I do think we need to change the city clerk, because
Yeah.
so, looks like, unless you all wanna change the city attorney, this is the only one that would not change, if we did the city manager form of government.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
can understand the city.
So the
attorney.
city attorney and city clerk work for the commission, not for the city manager.
Mm-hmm.
Is the clerk required to come to all the meetings? Is that a requirement, or is that just assumed?
Is that a requirement?
It's not a requirement, no, it's just assumed because the responsibilities that the clerk, the things that the clerk is responsible for are things that the city must do. So if you don't have the clerk at the meeting, they
I'm
must
sorry, I
have
meant
somebody
city
else.
attorney.
Oh,
Did I say
no.
clerk?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I do believe I have to be at all meetings.
I mean, your
Yeah.
contract calls for you to serve at
okay.
meetings, yes, but
You
if
are
she's,
or your
Charter, but
representative,
my
right.
contract.
yeah, but if she's sick and it's a very light meeting, we don't require Gray Robinson to send us or because I can always call, like, it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you know,
We have a lot of attorneys.
but they're at everything now. But every once in a while, we've had a very basic agenda where we said it's okay. You know, you're sick, you don't need to send us somebody today, so.
Okay. Good deal.
We are gonna recommend moving to a city manager form of government and splitting the two jobs, so that at this point takes care of 4.1 or 2 all the way down to 4.5. So the next one I have on mine is 6.03. 6.03. And that is a couple of pages. So does anybody have notes on what they wanted to talk about there? I see one. It's okay.
Item C, number 1, I had underlined just about 3/4 of the way down, it says, if a petition or amended petition is certified sufficient, or if a petition or amended petition is certified insufficient, and then I underlined that and said, need a clearer explanation, possibly simplify the language. I think what makes one sufficient and one insufficient? What's the defining characteristic that says this is an insufficient petition? And then I just had a big question mark next to number 2, so I must not have understood that one at all. I think my note was, when does this require commission vote only, and when is a referendum required for approval? So,
I mean, I think I would say determined to be insufficient if there's something not completed on it, or if it's not verified appropriately, because there's verification processes for those. I think it could be a number of things.
Well, and it says in the beginning, if it's insufficient, the city clerk needs to say the particulars wherein it's defective.
okay.
So the city clerk has a checklist of things that it needs to have, and if it doesn't meet the requirements, marks it as insufficient and has to basically give evidence as to why it's insufficient.
Okay. And then apparently the petitioner can, whatever the petitioner's committee is, can elect to amend or request commission review. So I guess that means that whoever submitted the petition then has the opportunity to change it or amend it based on the decision of the clerk? Yeah. That last sentence.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So after it says, if the petition is sufficient or insufficient, it says, and the petitioner's committee, which I assume is the person who put forth the petition or the request, does not elect to amend or request commission review under subsection C2, which is the one I had the big question mark by, then the clerk shall promptly present the certificate to the commission, and certificate shall then be final determination as to the sufficiency of the petition. Obviously written by a lawyer.
Wow.
That was a nice circular.
All right, let's be nice.
And your question is, what does that mean? Is that what you're asking?
Well, at first I wasn't sure what was sufficient or insufficient, so you answered that question for me, thank you. But then, even if it is sufficient or insufficient, the petitioner still has a chance to change it if they want to? Or if it's insufficient?
If it's insufficient, so
Okay.
it's kind of walks us through the petitions, or if it's insufficient for lack of required number of valid signatures, they have one chance to amend that. If they file a notice of intention to amend it with the city clerk within 2 days after receiving a copy of the certificate, and files supplementary petition upon additional papers within 10 days. So this is 2 days, 10 days. So they have a chance to amend it once, and then within 30 days after it's filed, the city clerk shall then issue a certificate as to the sufficiency of the petition as amended. So there's another process this clerk goes through. Looks at it again, and then sends a copy to the petitioner's committee. Let's see, and then if a petition or amended petition is certified sufficient, so if in that second chance it's certified sufficient or insufficient, and the petitioner who's, like, if they tell the petitioner this is insufficient and they say, oh, I'm not gonna do anything else, that's the final determination. Number 2 is basically saying, we wanna go before the commission with this petition. And the committee basically, the commission has the final say, and they can
Yeah.
approve or disapprove what the clerk has done.
Yeah.
Sorry, it took me a second to go through it as well.
Okay, no, I'm glad, you're the lawyer, you can take as long as you want.
It's detailed, I think that makes sense
Yeah, okay.
in terms of the process.
It just seemed like it did seem like a circular process when I first read it, like,
Okay,
almost, if it was sufficient, okay, stop there and then do another paragraph. If it's insufficient, here's what we need to do. So it got a little confusing, so thank you for that.
yeah, no problem.
Anybody else care?
I had a big star next to it, so I was 100% in agreement with you. I was confused about, number 1. It was just, so I'm glad that we had that reviewed, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So any other questions on 6.03? Okay, before I move on, we have 45 minutes. Anybody do we want to take a 5-minute bio break or keep going? Power through. All right. I didn't see nobody jumped up, so we're going to power through. So no other questions on 6.03?
Oh, yes.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I should not have turned the page.
Okay, that's fine.
This is on the submission to voters, it's item 2 on the top of page, there's no page. Okay. So item 2 under E. So my note was, this is about submission to voters. The vote of the city on a proposed or referred ordinance shall be held not less than 30 days or not later than 180 days from the date petition was determined sufficient. Okay? And then, so I said, my note was still in effect or changed by, is this still in effect or has it been changed by state law to comply with the presidential elections? Because it sounds like this is a special election. Can we-
Correct, yeah, I mean, which is basically what it continues on to say, is that the commission shall provide for a special election.
Okay, so we can still do special elections? We
Yes.
don't have to wait until the 4-year thing?
Nope.
Okay, that was an easy one.
Yep,
Okay, and then the results of the election, are they effective immediately after the vote? Or is that established in the referendum when they
it
go
would
into
be
effect?
established based on what it was, because it would depend on what the initiative would be.
Okay, so it's based on the referendum itself, then that
Yes.
would be part of it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Shall I not turn any more pages?
No, keep asking questions. That's why we're here.
I'm done
Yeah.
on 6.
This is awesome. Okay. So we're almost 6.03. So the next one that we talked about as a committee was 7.01, time frame for reviews and committee memberships. Oh, okay. I got highlights and pen marks. All right. So the first one that I want to address on here is the number of people on the committee. So we were supposed to have 9, and we could not get 9 for this one. So I would like to suggest or discuss a lower number than 9. I don't know what it should be. I like the other wording where we had the ability to have a current commissioner and a past commissioner. That's been very helpful in my mind. But can anybody else come up with a lower number than 9 that makes sense?
We're talking about 6, right?
Is 9 normal for most cities?
No, it's that's one of the things that we surveyed. If you're able to look at that sheet, there were a lot were kind of in like the 5 to 7 range. A lot were 5. I would say if you want to make a recommendation, we tend to try to look for an odd number, because that way, if something does come down to a vote, in theory, you would have something that wins. So if you want to make a recommendation, that would be my only suggestion, would be that I ask that you pick an odd number.
You could
So-
say, a minimum of 5.
Well, that's, yeah, I had actually written 5-9, so I guess I was
Yeah.
thinking 5 up to a
I mean,
maximum
you
of 9.
could say that. The only issue there then is if you set a range, and if you get 8 applicants, are you gonna take 8? Because again, you wanna try to have an odd number.
Right, okay.
So, but it's up, I mean, the commission at the time could deal with that,
Sure.
because they're appointing them. But
Okay.
you could say no fewer than 5,
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
so.
Yeah. I'm good.
We couldn't have more than 5, we just have to have at least 5?
Yeah, you could say
Least.
no fewer
No
than
fewer
5.
than 5?
Yeah.
We would have 7?
Sure.
You could say no fewer than 5, no more than,
7.
Well,
well,
I
then it's 5 or 7. Then to me, it's 5 or 7.
That's right,
You
you
really
don't want
wanna
6.
avoid
If you had 20 people apply, you
Yeah.
could go to 9.
That's right.
Yeah.
12.
Maybe.
So, in
Odd number.
I mean, you
so,
could say 5, 7, or 9.
Ken, did you hear that?
What?
So Kristen said you could say something like 5 or any odd number above 5 up to.
That's
I don't
Up to
know.
9.
Yeah.
I
up to
would
9.
say, I would try to put some kind of cap, because
Yes,
if
it
for
could get out
whatever
of
reason
control
everybody
there.
came in, I mean, we just couldn't accommodate that large
So I
of a group.
assume we lost Susan? That,
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
she sent me an email and said she was having connection issues.
All right, thank you.
And that she would, follow
All right.
up with me later.
so what would the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
If it was 5, and then a quorum would be how many?
3, right?
3.
3.
It's not very many people
Not very many.
agreed with what, we're discussing, which is the way that the city is run.
Good things come in 3s.
But remember, it's just a recommendation, and it's
Yeah.
still approved by the commission and then voted by the community, so it is a small number, but you're not, making the decisions like this.
And you can always schedule additional, if you have a day where there's a quorum of 3, you go, okay, then we need to have another meeting to review these recommendations, because we'd like more of the group to be on board with it.
So when we make a recommendation to the commission, okay, we would put something in there like a minimum
A minimum
of 5,
a maximum of 9,
maximum of 9.
must be an odd number.
Okay, is that simple enough?
Did you say 5, 7, or 9?
Yeah, I would say 5, 7, or 9.
It's the same
That
place.
sounds good.
Pasadena.
Yeah,
That sounds
5, 7,
good.
or 9.
Okay. So then the
if you-
next,
For example, if you got 6, you'd have to.
One person would not be
Right.
selected, or you'd have to go try to recruit one more.
yeah, so. And then the next thing I had, because I did not have this information at the time, and I did not know how 6 came up, but why 6 years? I have no idea. And I looked through this frequency, there's a lot of 5s in there. Was it mainly 5? There's a 10 of some of the other cities.
There were a handful of cities that don't do it at all.
That would bother me, I don't want to do that.
Oh, I'm not suggesting
No,
that.
no, I know you're
It
not.
was interesting,
but-
there were some clerks' offices that were like, could you send us your research when you're done? 'Cause we would
Really?
like,
Okay,
yeah,
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 so.
which we will.
So, I'm not against 6, I just had a question mark next to it. It seems like a reasonable amount of time to me, you know, to review this stuff. I just want to know what other people's thoughts were.
I could go with 5, just because our world is changing so quickly. And the introduction of AI, as we were talking about earlier, Larry, you know, that I'm the dinosaur in this group on the AI situation. But, you know, that it's just, 5 just seems like a more palatable number to me. I don't know why. Just easier, quicker, as quickly as
Okay.
our world is moving. It's a recommendation, that's all.
How's everybody feel about that? 5? Glenn's yawning, so he's good.
No,
No, just kidding.
I hope
5?
so.
Yeah,
I'm
all right,
old.
everybody, all right. So can we change that to 5? Just because of how fast the world is moving. I don't think that needs to be put on the ballot. But, so that was 7.01. So the last one, and then we're gonna go back to the individuals, but the last one that's on the list is 7.03, committee rules and procedure.
I think that that was listed in connection with potential changes to 7.01 because it lists, like some stipulations, for example, the quorum and whatnot is outlined in there, so we would potentially need to update 7.03 to be in line with 7.01 based
Okay.
on a membership change, if that makes sense.
I do have, oh no, I have online written. Why do I have on, or inline? Okay.
So it would affect the last line, right?
Yeah, so, you know, a majority would be different
Oh.
if you have 5 members versus 7 members versus 9 members, whereas right now that stipulates 5 because you're called to have 9 members.
Okay.
So we would just basically strike the specifics and just say it has to be a majority of the committee rather than actually stipulating what a
5,
majority
yeah,
is.
which would be
Yeah.
unanimous, okay, if
Yeah.
it were.
That was my understanding as to why
Yeah.
we had that one marked for review.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any notes on that? No?
I don't think so.
I am checking that one off, and that is the end of the official list, and I've got John written on here, so
Yeah, I got it.
what are we heading back to?
Little things, let's see. 2.04,
2.04,
yeah. Section A.
okay?
What I had here, that, you know, kind of related to my own status when I first moved down here as a snowbirder. You know, it talks about being a resident of the city for 1 year prior to blah, blah, blah. So, do you really want someone who's really only been here 6 months or even less? You know, if they've been a resident, like, how do you define resident? Is what I'm getting.
So they have to prove it with some sort of documentation. We have some AGO opinions on that. The easiest one that we look for is your voter registration. Now, if someone doesn't become a registered voter within a year, they can prove it to us with other ways. Changing your driver's license, your bringing in mail, a lease, a mortgage, that kind of thing. So, but we can't necessarily prove or validate whether someone actually has been residing at their property for a year.
Just a question.
Yeah, because I think I brought in my driver's license, and you looked up my voter
Yeah, you've been,
information,
yeah.
and then I got because I'll be honest, I was like 15 months when I decided
Yeah.
to run for office. And I'm like, are you sure you're gonna let me run? She's like, yeah, you meet all the criteria.
I mean,
But-
does that, just to raise a question, does that seem long enough, for someone, if you've only been here a year, it took me years to.
So you're saying you would think you would
Longer?
wanna make it longer?
Maybe longer, perhaps, I'm just raising it as a possibility, because, to figure out a community and then to, be involved with the community in some sort of official fashion takes time, to really understand, in a year, particularly if you're not living here for maybe half that year. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like.
Could it
We
be a
could-
snowbird?
Well, we had that discussion in one of our meetings, because I remember asking if that should read permanent resident, and there was a discussion about, we didn't want to go there, because that limits you, and how do you define that, and how do you monitor that, and all of that, so it
Well, if
was,
you're paying taxes, you're permanent, aren't you?
that's.
But you could be a
Not
renter,
necessarily.
you could be a renter that's not necessarily paying property taxes.
Oh, good point.
So, I mean, I think part of that is, the hope is that the election process, in theory, should, if it's functioning, should work to resolve that, because if the community feels like if someone's not here, the community should know that, right? So if the process is doing what it's supposed to do, we could look into see how other cities, it's not a question I've gotten before, but we can look and see how other cities define that and see if there are more protections in place of must this, it's possible. I think the proving of residency is not necessarily something that staff is concerned with, but if you're concerned about whether or not someone is here full-time enough, we could look into that.
So when it says that shall remain domiciled in the city for the term of office, that means for 4 years, if you're elected, you have to be a resident of the city of South Pasadena.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's nothing to say that, the commission takes a hiatus in the summer, there's nothing to say that you could leave for the entire thing,
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But that, you're not changing your residency, you're just going on
Correct, there's
vacation.
no, you're just, you own a home somewhere else and you leave for 2 months in the summer. You
Sure.
could do that and still be considered
Right.
domiciled here.
But you shouldn't do that while the commission is in session.
Correct.
Yeah.
We have had people, so the summer hiatus, for example, our last meeting is the first business day of July, and then the commission is on break until about the third week of August. We have had some people take all of July and all of August, so they miss 2-ish meetings in August to be gone for 2 months. They're missing 2 meetings, we don't love it, but is someone gonna say that they can't be on the commission because they're gonna miss the 2 meetings in August? Probably not. So,
I mean, a snowbird would technically not be here 6 months.
right, I mean, that I don't think you would miss
Right.
so much, I don't know how you could do it.
Do we have anything in place for the number of meetings that a commissioner has to attend a year? Okay, just curious.
So you could look at that for some of the when we were discussing reasons for removal from office, there is not like an absence issue listed there.
And I asked that because
So-
I was watching a news report,
Yeah,
and one of the youngest mayors in the state that had ever got elected, he got elected, and then he didn't come to
Didn't
a
go.
single meeting
Yeah.
for 7 months.
yeah,
And then he got mad at somebody that worked in the city, and he came in
Came
and just
back.
started firing
Yeah.
staff. And he hadn't been to a single
Right,
meeting,
right,
but he was the mayor.
yeah,
It was insane, yeah,
so.
so,
I mean, at that point, I think the city would start looking at things like that being an act of malfeasance,
okay.
or incompetence to perform official duty. We would roll absence into a different
Neglect of duty.
category, we would call it something else.
Okay.
But technically,
As long as you feel like we have an
yeah,
avenue.
I mean,
All right.
it's, yeah,
So, well,
So-
I hear what you're saying. I'm not against changing
I'm
that
not-
if the group wants to change that to longer. You heard my story. That's how long I was here. I decided to do this because I'd been doing volunteerism my whole life. I'd volunteered in, Big Brothers, Habitat, all kinds of different things. And I thought, being able to do this was another form of just giving back. So, and I got in under the
Didn't know
wire.
you were gonna get any money.
I did not.
We need more like you.
Just keep in mind too, it's already kind of difficult to get people to run for commission, so
Yeah.
the more restrictions you put on, the harder thought.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, I can go either way, just so you.
That's why we're here, all right. You got some more?
I have one other, and
Yeah.
this just seems like a, all right, 2.07.
2.07, you said?
Yeah. So the fifth line
Okay.
says unless otherwise specified, all other action of the commission, what does it say, all other actions of the commission? Huh? I mean, I guess it's-
That's legally how a lot of our work is written.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I personally think that's appropriate language, all other action of the commission.
Yeah.
That was it, John? Oh my God, okay. How about everybody else? We got a half an hour. Well, we have time.
Did you say it's happy hour?
Happy hour, that's what I heard.
That's the truth, South Pasadena.
Well, I'm not adjourning yet, okay, I'm asking if there's any other ones, but it sounds like we're gonna get some rewording of stuff, so we definitely wanna come to our next meeting to be able to review the
Correct.
wording and make sure that we all agree with that, okay? So if, I can do this, if there are no other topics, I'm wide open now, I'm looking at everybody, nobody's got anything?
Well, I actually, just clarify next meeting, so I like the
You
idea of
got it?
getting the word changes, but I also like the idea of just putting like a little rationale, so we explain underneath the edit, why we make that edit. So when we do the report back to the commission, it's just really clear why we're suggesting what we're suggesting.
We can do that. I will say
If you
the,
want to extract it and put it as a separate
we
attachment, that's
can,
fine.
the way that that's been addressed previously is that the chairperson from the committee has been present at that presentation and has basically spoken on the committee's behalf. So we can try to put in a small note if you'd like, but also Commissioner McAleese will be there.
I like notes though.
So that's fine. No, I'm just saying like.
And you're gonna be there.
Yeah,
We can
absolutely
share
as well.
with
But we do, we
And
try
you
to
all
make
can
sure
be
your
there.
intentions
Yeah,
are
yeah.
well represented. We try as best we can to go, this was
Yes.
the concern, so this is
Yes.
why this, yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we can do that.
okay.
Remind me when the commission meets, please.
The next one? Oh, the
No, no,
commission
no,
meeting.
the commission meeting.
So first, second, and third Tuesday. Remember that, first, second, and third Tuesday, 9 AM, 7 PM, 9 AM.
So the 9 AMs are workshops.
They
Which
are
are the
workshops,
the
but they're
first
all
and
open
third,
to the
yes.
public. Now, when all this will come up, will probably be what, June?
It will be one of the workshops in June,
In
so
June.
a Tuesday morning in June.
Yeah,
Workshops are better to come to because more stuff gets discussed. By the night meeting, everything is pretty much.
it is,
That's
it's
at
just
9
voting.
a.m.?
Voting.
That's at 9 a.m.?
They are at 9 AM, yeah.
Yeah,
They're Tuesdays at 9 AM.
so, as for that, because it sounds like there is interest from everybody here, and I know we're gonna have another meeting, can you just send out a reminder email
Yeah.
on when that will come up?
Yep.
That way people can have access to it, that'd be awesome. Okay. Any other topics?
Are you
Going
all
once,
good for the next May
going
date?
twice? Hold on, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were about to adjourn. I'm like, please don't
No,
adjourn yet, please
no,
don't
no,
adjourn.
Almost,
Okay.
almost.
Whew.
So the committee had previously agreed to meet on May 18th, so 2 weeks, 1 PM. Again, it was another 1 to 4 o'clock. Carly's already asked about lunch, so if anybody's got anything specific, let her know before you leave today. So if everybody's in agreement on that date, we're back on that date. And unless there's any further discussion, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming, going once, going twice, gavels down. We're done, adjourned. Thank you all very much.